Hello, everyone. Nadeem here with PC.Solutions.Net, and I've got Mac. It is Friday,
It's
and
Friday.
we're all happy on Friday, right,
Oh my
Mac?
God, this week has been something else. This week has been
So,
something else.
yeah, I mean, it's been a hectic week. Just to give everybody a little overview. I mean, we've got so many things lined up. We
Yeah.
got like I think next week we've got a thing going on with Microsoft.
Yep.
There's a few other things going on. So I mean, there's a lot of things happening, and of course, a lot of this stuff we're doing like virtually. So it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, but it's I'm having fun. So yeah, it's all exciting stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and so on the other side of things, just in the field itself, things are changing so fast. I mean, I'm seeing new updates like almost every day. Things that were acceptable yesterday are not acceptable today. It's like,
True.
it's like I got an update from NAST earlier. I think it was earlier today or last night. That and I didn't know this. uh, that they consider uh, SMS text messages for second factor authentication as insecure. I didn't know that. I mean, that's news to me. I mean,
When
everybody.
it, so because really,
Yeah. So NIST does not consider text messaging to be secure. That's news to me, but it is what it is. And NIST is what basically everybody follows. So any
Mm,
kind of organization that has, security focus, they follow the baseline is NIST.
mm,
Everything else is on top of that. So if you need to be, HIPAA compliant, Starbucks compliant, any kind of compliance, the baseline is NIST. So if NIST says, no, SMS text message for second factor is not secure, boom, it changes the entire industry. I mean, that
wow,
ripple, that ripple is going to go through the entire industry. So,
holy
so
crap.
interesting. I mean, but at the same time, there's a lot of companies out there, a lot of people out there that are relying on text messages because they don't want to mess with the authentication app on their phone, or they don't want to install the app on their phone because it's their personal phone, or whatever the reason is. But man, I mean, it's just
That changes everything.
landscape changes so fast, and I
Yeah.
mean, every day is an exciting day because something new is going to come down the line. but
Wow.
but it's that's what we live for. We enjoy it. So it's just fun. So on a slightly different note, I want to head out a little early today. I'm going to do something special. I'm installing a new system uh, in my truck, but I'm not going to talk about it just yet. I might do a video on
Please do a video on it. You know I work on your truck, so I got to see this.
it. So anyway, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, it's kind of funny. You just, with you talking about the changes in the landscape of technology, and how it affects everyone. What we're going to talk about is something that everybody that knows me, because I'm constantly calling your phone in. For those that don't know me, my job is to call and make sure that one, you're up to date as far as your technology is concerning. Two, we just want to make sure that everything is, going well. Well, when I call people that aren't clients, I come across individuals that are the small to medium sized business owner that has one, no clue what's going on with their technology, and they leave that to a family member that's been doing it, or some other company that's giving them, and I'm just saying, marginal service, just enough to get by, only to find out later on down the line that holy crap, we got a problem here. And so we
Right.
want to talk about the vCIO role and how that is so important to the small to medium sized businesses, and why you should have it. And that's what we're doing here at PCSN. And I want Nadeem to really kind of touch on that, because for a lot of you, it can make or break your your technology. So
Exactly. If you've looked at our stack, there are 5 components to our stack, right? So there's project services, there is centralized services, there is the help desk, which is the reactive tickets, and then the two main roles that basically I think differentiates us from most providers out there, it's the TAM role, or the technology alignment manager's role. That's one. And then the vCIO role. So these two roles, the vCIO and the TAM role, they work like hand in hand, right? So the vCIO role runs off of the info that comes in from the TAM role. Now, these two roles are the most important to change the structure from more of a reactive model to a proactive model. And when we first started, we started like anybody else. I mean, I started out of the garage. I didn't have a clue about how to manage 100, or well, now we're almost 1,000 nodes. I mean, I just knew that I loved computers and I had the experience and I could solve problems, and I was like, yay. But one of the things that we learned and that we honed on is that it is a very specific process that you have to follow to minimize support costs. And the way we do that is by using these TAM and vCIO roles. Now, for small business, it's very important to have that vCIO role. And of course, the TAM role goes hand in hand with that. And here's the reason why. So the upper management in a small to medium-sized business, they don't want to learn the ins and outs of technology. They want somebody to translate the technical, geek speak into business terms that they can understand. That's the role of the vCIO. So in a vCIO role, what we do is we get the technical stuff, the technical jargon that comes in from the TAM role, and the TAM role is a very technical role, because the TAM role is what's looking at the firmwares, the hardware, the software, all these intricate things. And then vCIO role is what translates that into business terms. So, I'll give you an example. A simple example is, let's say, a software that's not supported anymore. A lot of companies run software that's not supported anymore. And a lot of companies don't realize what the repercussions of that, using that outdated software is. Now, of course, on the one hand, the business is trying to decide, do we want to spend X amount of dollars and get to a currently supported version of software? Or the number two option is, oh, these, our IT guys are doing a good enough job. They'll keep the stuff running, so everything is good. Let's not worry about it, right? So here's what happens. Now, if there is no vCIO role and the customer does not update that software because they don't understand the repercussions, and this is a real life scenario, what happens? An outdated piece of software that's not maintained by the developer anymore and is in production handling your customer data, and if there is a breach, who is going to be accountable for that breach? Right. Yeah. So of course, IT, if you don't have a TAM role and a vCIO role, so if you don't have a TAM role, you don't even know your software is not supported or outdated or what it is, right? And then if you don't have a vCIO role, you don't see that in business terms. So it's the vCIO's responsibility to translate that into business terms and make sure management makes an educated decision based on that information. Should we update the software, or should we keep running this outdated, unsupported version of the software? Is it going to be better for us to just live with the consequences, and if something happens, a breach occurs, we just deal with it and handle the fallout? Or is it going to be more cost effective to update the software now and not have a breach in the first place? Make sure that the software is up to date, make sure it's got, it's got the latest updates to maximize user productivity. I mean, all kinds of things come into play. Now, that's just one example. That's an actual scenario that happened because, somebody decided they weren't going to update the software anymore because, and it wasn't even a huge amount. I mean, this was a pretty, the revenue, I mean, this was over $1 million revenue company, small company, and the software license was like $2,000. And, if you cannot spend $2,000 every 2 to 3 years to update your main line of business software, maybe you're in the wrong business. But anyway, so that was one thing. Now, on the other side of the equation, we run into this situation all the time, and that is equipment is not supported anymore. It's not under warranty, so warranty expires. Now, being doing this for so long, you kind of come up with some standards. You kind of can look at certain things and say, okay, in the near future, I need to replace this piece of equipment because it's already, so old. And so the TAM role, what the TAM role does is they figure out what the I'm sorry, my phone went off, and so the TAM role figures out what the date of manufacture is on some of these devices, whether they're routers, whether they're switches, wireless radios, whatever have you. And then that information goes up to the vCIO. Now it's the vCIO's job to translate that into business terms, and what that business term might be. Hey, your network switches are more than 2 years old. They only come with a 1-year warranty. They're more than 2 years old. It's time to start budgeting for new switches, because if those switches die, you might have IP-based phones. The phones are going to stop working. These switches also are not available on the local market. I mean, these are enterprise-grade switches, so you have to order them. And even if somebody overnights it, you're not going to get it immediately. It's going to be downtime. Now, when a switch dies, everything dies. Your computers die, your systems die. Basically, systems cannot talk to each other. So the vCIO needs to translate that so that upper management understands, hey, we need to start budgeting for these switches or for this hardware, for these systems. And that's what the vCIO helps with. So not only is it making sure that management understands the technology needs and requirements, not only to make sure that the technology is aligned with the business goals, but also help with budgeting. I mean, that's a core role, is to help with budgeting. And that's what, that's why vCIO role is so important, is because, let me put it this way. If your TAM and vCIO roles are doing a good job, your reactive tickets go way down. And we get this question all the time. So, customers will onboard with us and they start off with certain number of tickets in the beginning. Over time, they see this number of tickets going down. So then I have this conversation with management. And the conversation goes something like this, hey, Nadeem, when we started with you guys, we were getting 10 tickets a day, and now we're down to like 2 tickets a day. I don't know if I still need to be paying for what I'm paying for you guys for, I mean, we have this contract and I need to renegotiate, and maybe we can, water down on some of those things. And so I tell everybody we onboard now, I tell them ahead of time, because somebody always asks, well, this is all well and good, but where can we shave some costs? And I tell them, and I'm like, okay, which service do you want me to drop? These are the 5 roles that we have. Which role do you want me to drop? And it's very telling, because a lot of times the customers will come back and not understand this, and they'll say, oh, let's drop this TAM role, or let's drop some of the functions of the vCIO role. They don't understand that those two roles are the ones that minimize the tickets that are coming into the help desk role, the service role, right? And so over time, as things happen, so I tell them ahead of time, I'm like, look, we cannot take out the TAM role. We cannot water down the vCIO role. It is part of it's like you have an engine and you want to take out the oil pump out of the engine or the water pump out of the engine. It's not going to work. The whole machine is going to break. You can't take just that component. It's critical. So once I explain that, and then I throw this one sentence in there, and I'm like, look, we're going to have this same conversation in about a year's time, because in about a year's time, you're going to see those tickets, those reactive tickets going down, and you're going to be like, Nadeem, we don't need your services as much because we don't see that many tickets. And it's like, you don't see that many tickets because we're doing our job.
Basically.
So don't try to water down or break down or go cheap on the TAM, which is Technology Alignment Manager, or the vCIO roles, because those are critical to minimizing the reactive tickets. And in our industry, I'm going to throw in some terms that we use internally. So in our industry, we call that noise. And our goal is to minimize noise, because and a lot of people don't understand it this way. A lot of people, they use the metric of how many tickets they're closing in a day. Some IT companies take pride in saying, oh, we close 900 tickets a day. If you look at it, if you break it down, that's not a good thing. Why do you have 900 tickets a day? What are you doing wrong to have that many tickets a day?
Yeah.
So they're focusing on the wrong stuff. And a lot of customers too. A lot of customers fall into the same trap. They're looking for the SLA on how many tickets can you solve in a day. They're not looking at, why do you have that many tickets in the first place? If the IT provider is doing their job right, you should not have that many tickets in the first place. The IT provider's job is not to have as many tickets and close them. It's to minimize those tickets so you don't have that many tickets to begin with, and then help management get the right information to management to make the right decision on where IT needs to go, where to spend that money to make sure to minimize those reactive tickets.
Right.
So, it's and when we started, and I fell into the same trap, right? When I started, about 20 years ago, we were always so happy. Oh, we're closing so many tickets a day. And it was like, it wasn't until a few years into it and we started thinking, wait a minute, why do we have so many tickets? Wouldn't it be better if we didn't have that many tickets to begin with? And that should be the real metric, is how low are your number of tickets? Nobody talks about how low are your number of tickets. Has anybody heard of a metric of how low your number of tickets are on a daily basis? Nobody talks about it. Even customers don't talk about it.
No.
They're trying to talk about how many tickets a day can you solve? It's like, that's the wrong question.
I think and not to cut you off, but I think the biggest reason, unfortunately, is that the expectation, which I get, is that something's going to break. But what I love about PCSN is that, yeah, we get that, but if we can jump on top of it without you even having to know that something went wrong, why aren't you looking at that? So, to your example, can you fix tickets within an hour? Because our guys now, it takes them 4 hours to do. But how about it's purring, and everything is going well? Look at that and say, hey, I'm good. I don't care. Yeah.
If everything is running like a well-oiled machine, you should not have that many reactive tickets. And here's an example, that hardware that is getting old, that the TAM says needs to be replaced, and then the vCIO translates that to business management. If you don't replace that hardware, and let's say that switch dies one day, now you have a whole day, if not more, more than a few days of downtime because you have a switch that is dead. Now you're scrambling to figure out how you're going to get all these users who are just twiddling their thumbs going again. That's a much bigger cost than maybe, $800-900, or I don't know, if you have like 48 nodes on your network, maybe $1,000 or a couple $1,000 for a network switch, depending on your requirements. That couple of $1,000 is much better money, much better spent to not have 2 or 3 or 5 days of downtime because you didn't replace that switch.
Yeah.
And that's how these roles minimize tickets. So folks out there, if you have your own IT departments, or if you run an IT provider business, don't focus on how many tickets you're closing or how many tickets you can handle in a day. Focus on getting rid of those tickets. You don't want those reactive tickets. Even one reactive ticket is somebody didn't do their job right. Now, of course, I understand a lot of times it could be user error, or it could be the user just is creating a ticket to, they don't know how to do something and they want to ask somebody how to do something. That's fine. But I'm talking about actual technical issues caused by the vCIO or the TAM roles not doing their job right. So I think we'll call it a day at that. We've already taken a lot of time. So, but we'll have to dig more. I mean, that's the vCIO role. I think we have to dig into the TAM role, and then some of the other roles a little bit deeper. Maybe we'll do over several videos. But yeah. So that's with that, I think we'll call it a day. And everybody have a good day and be safe out there.
See you guys.